ROH Final Battle. Oh boy, this was also December the 5th, 2025. Oh boy, so in preparing to watching this, I skimmed through the ROH TV segment. I know AEW and AEW adjacent products. There's not going to be a whole lot of storyline going into the show. But just in case there was, I decided to see if I was missing anything. So I checked, I think it was the 4th of December when ROH TV, the episode aired. So we're going to go through the episode, then we're going to go through ROH Final Battle, which used to be a huge deal. It used to be one of the major ROH shows. This thing, again, was thrown together in 2 days. And they still had 9 matches. They had 9 matches in a show that was thrown together in 2 days. Oh, my goodness. So I figure if I'm going to watch Final Battle, or at least watch some of it, I should at least know what's going to be on the show and what's happening. I shouldn't be talking out of my ass about something that I don't follow, and I don't follow Ring of Honor. So I figure at least the Go Home show will be able to tell me what's going on, and then I'll be prepared to watch the regular show, the pay-per-view. I try to give everything a chance, brother. I try to give everything a chance. But, as usual, this was a whole lot of wrestling. The ROH TV show had 7 matches on it. The show was 90 minutes, and it had 7 goddamn matches on it. I skimmed through all 7. But I did watch most of the first one. Beast Mortos versus Commander, which ended in disqualification. These two were both in the main event of Final Battle, so that's why this match is happening. Commander, I hadn't seen him in a long time. I forgot he still worked in AEW. Mortos, of course, is Mercedes' boyfriend. This was just 2 guys who are going to be wrestling each other in Survival of the Fittest match, getting a little warm up in. It went a little longer than it probably should have. I was actually like, okay, I can watch this. But once it went on like long, I was like, come on, man. Like, whew, cut me some slack, you know. Let's get something done. Anyway, Sammy Guevara ended up attacking Commander. Guevara is also in that match. He snatched Commander's mask off. Bandito came down there to help Commander, and Hechicero attacked Bandito. And then there was all the heels holding up the belt because they're all in the Survival of the Fittest match. Then we got a cavalcade of jobber matches. Davari, Nice, and some woman named Denali fighting jobbers. Sidney Akeem, who was Scripps in NXT, he beat a jobber. Dalton Castle and the Outrunners. I love these guys. All 3 of them. They're tremendous. They beat up jobbers. I'll talk about Dalton Castle a little bit more later. Daniel Garcia and Willa Yuta, they beat up 2 jobbers. Then Deonna Purrazzo and Queen Aminata, they had a segment where Aminata's neck injury takes her out of the women's pure tournament, which gave Deonna Purrazzo a bye. Okay. Mercedes Moné defeated a jobber. I'm surprised to see her here. I'm surprised she worked ROH TV taping. And then Billy Starks defeated Yuka Sakazaki in the main event. This was another semi-final for the Women's Pure Championship, which set up the Women's Pure Main Event Championship match, the final rather, which was Billy Starks versus Deonna Purrazzo. So then I skimmed through the 0 hour as well. The Outrunners wrestled the Premier Athletes. That would be Tony Nese and Little Davari. Layla Gray versus Zeta Steel. I actually did watch this because I'm in love with Layla Gray. So I definitely watched this. It was actually quite impressive. Layla Gray is slow. She's improved a lot since the last time I saw her, which has been since the last ROH show that I looked at. I remember watching her a lot when I was watching OVW like a year or so ago before they sold it again and a bunch of people left apparently because there's virtually nobody watching OVW now. Zeta Steel, clearly she was in the WWE ID program. She came over here, I guess, for more opportunities on Ring of Honor. She's still very young, but she was quite good. So I did watch this. It was the first full match that I watched. And I thought it was nice. Layla Gray wins with the Angels wings, which looked kind of dangerous because Layla Gray she's got skinny arms, and thank God Zeta Steel is not heavier than a quarter pounder. Otherwise, she'd have landed on her goddamn head. Did I say I love Layla Gray? I want people to realize that. That's a very real thing. If she wasn't already married, and if I didn't respect the covenant of marriage, I sell everything I own to find her. But she lives in Ohio or something like that, so maybe it's kind of a bad thing. You know, Ohio and Michigan don't really mix. Lee Johnson wrestled Ace Austin. Ace Austin is on the pre-show of a Ring of Honor show. He's not that important. Wow. This guy should have just stayed in TNA. Or should have went to NXT. I don't know. The Grizzled Young Veterans. I forgot they worked in AEW. They wrestled Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta. I don't watch Grizzled Young Veterans. They're boring as shit. You know, we used to call them FTR UK. I don't think it's fair to even call them that anymore. And plus, I don't watch Wheeler Yuta either. So, but Moxley was there, and Moxley made the trip to Ring of Honor just to talk to the crowd, and he's the corner man for Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta to make people care about them. Fail, by the way. All right, so the actual show starts with Deonna Purrazzo defeating Billie Starkz to win the Women's Pure Championship. It was fine. I didn't watch the whole match. I watched like maybe the last 2 or 3 minutes. Billie Starkz is one of those folks that she's a very young wrestler. I think she's like 18 or 19 or something like that. She's pretty young. Deonna Purrazzo clearly was the best option for this belt because she's the best in terms of submission style, grappling style female wrestlers right now in AEW / Ring of Honor. But she's been in the business way too long to be stuck in Ring of Honor. But this is what they're doing. Lee Moriarty wrestled Nigel McGuinness in a 30-minute Iron Man match for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. They did 2 Pure Championship matches back to back. This match was 30 minutes. Bro, I'm not watching this. All right. So I skipped to the last minute or so. And then it was 4-4 going into overtime. And then I watched the overtime element, and Lee Moriarty defeated him. The point of this whole thing was that Nigel McGuinness wanted to challenge Lee Moriarty because now Lee Moriarty is considered the greatest pure champion due to how long he's been the champion. But what does it mean for Lee Moriarty to be in Ring of Honor for 3 years and basically be invisible and nobody knows where he is? I want to say something really good about Ring of Honor near the end, and I want people to pay attention to that when I get to it. And then they did the thing. Red Velvet defeated Mercedes Moné to win the Women's Television Championship. This was the best Red Velvet match I've ever seen. One thing I can say about Mercedes, she's got a huge ego. She's probably got a bad attitude. But she gets the most out of people. And she's willing to take the bumps. The stuff she was willing to do for Red Velvet on a Ring of Honor show is commendable. All right. A lot of people talk about her like she's really selfish, and she is. But she's really giving in the ring in terms of being willing to take bumps. She's a huge star. She has, well, especially for Ring of Honor, she has no business letting Red Velvet give her like a rolling anything off the second rope so she could take bumps on her back and everything. She also let Red Velvet give her a second rope head scissor. Just amazing bumps that she took here. The crowd was not as hot as you would think they would be to have somebody the stature of Mercedes Moné in the building. And also the building had like 400 people in it. I really want to know how many people was in the building. It's probably like 1,000. Maybe. But Red Velvet has been pretty strong. Again, Red Velvet has been in AEW since the beginning. She's been there since the launch in 2019. She was a jabroni for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And she wrestled Mercedes on Collision like two weeks ago or something like that and lost. And then Mercedes gave her the belt back, the women's television title, on the pay-per-view. That's an old trick, believe it or not. Wrestlers used to do stuff like this all the time, where they get the win in front of the bigger audience and they'll lose in front of the smaller audience. A really good example of that is when Cody won the NWA World Title, and he won it at All in front of 10,000 people in Chicago on a pay-per-view that sold a ton of pay-per-view buys and all that stuff. But when he lost the belt at an NWA house show a couple of weeks later, where virtually nobody outside the building watched it. Like, that's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of high-level politics that pro wrestlers love playing. Guys like Raven used to do stuff like this. They do pay-per-view jobs or jobs on the house shows because nobody's paying attention to that stuff. But TV, where most people are watching, no. So she dropped one of her championships at on a pay-per-view taping. I got to give her credit for doing the job. The match was good. It was fun. It was a believable finish as well. She didn't get beat flat, clean in the middle of the ring. She went for her submission hold, and it got countered. And Red Velvet caught her slipping, rolled her up, and pinned her. She sold it very well. Red Velvet was very excited. The crowd sold it extremely well. The whole thing really worked out. It was good. You got to give Mercedes her credit for doing this. A lot of credit. And this is the reason I watched the show. I said a couple of weeks ago when they did the 3-hour collision that I wanted to see Red Velvet versus Mercedes, but I wasn't staying up to watch that. Like, I wasn't staying up to watch it. So I figure if I'm going to watch it, I might as well just watch it on here. So, I mean, even back then, I didn't know they were going to do this match again. So I kind of got lucky. But I figured I was going to skim through this anyway because I'm snowed in Detroit. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. So I might as well watch some wrestling and talk about it, right? So Mercedes took the L. I was very impressed. Good job on her. The fifth match was the Tag Team Championship match. Beast Mordos and Sammy Guevara defeated Adam Priest and Tommy Billington, the nephew of the Dynamite Kid. I didn't watch this. Namely because Sammy Guevara. I mean, he looks like Bruno Mars selling meth. He's just very weird. I don't like it. Match 6, Eddie Kingston defeat Josh Woods. Imagine having Josh Woods on your roster, a 6'3", 6'4" shooter, and you're jobbing him out to Barney from The Simpsons. This is what AEW is doing. But Josh Woods has been a wrestler for a while. He's never really made it out anywhere. I heard, pray tell, that he was in NXT a long time ago. It would have to have been at least 7 or 8 years ago because he's been in Ring of Honor at least 5 years. He was there during the pandemic. But he got a pay-per-view payday, so I guess it's fine. But Josh Woods is a big dude. I'm not sure how young he is anymore, but he's got something. I hate that he's in this situation. I was tempted to watch this match because I am a fan of Josh Woods, but at the same time, I'm like, Eddie Kingston is probably not going to lose this match, and he didn't, so there's that. The 6-man tag team championship, Shane Taylor Promotions defeated Top Flight and Scorpio Sky. Shane Taylor is still built like a bag of collard greens. I watched the last 3 minutes of this, and that final stretch was pretty good. And that's because the Top Flight, the fast-paced, agile dudes, they turn it up in the last few minutes. So the match, it was probably longer than it needed to be, but when the High Flyers started doing their thing, I was very impressed. And Shane Taylor Promotions wins. I don't know why this thing is still going on, but hey, they're doing their thing. 8, the National Championship, Ricochet defeated Dalton Castle. I'm a big fan of Dalton Castle, despite the homosexuality of the character. I think that Dalton Castle is very humorous. I think he's funny. He's entertaining. I like the way he presents the gimmick. I like Dalton Castle. This was the first time I've seen the presentation of the boys like this since the original boys got fired. And they had like a couple of fat, oily guys. And I'm like, what in the hell? It only added to the humor of it. Like, it only made me laugh even harder Like, Dalton Castle entertains me, period. But the fat, oily guys that are now the boys is pretty funny. I watched this match because I am a fan of Dalton Castle. And no, Dalton Castle is not in his physical prime. But that's okay. That's okay. I liked him. Ricochet was out there by himself. He wasn't with his Gates of Agony guys, so he had to handle this one alone. And it wasn't bad. Dalton Castle is limited. He's not as good as he used to be, but they still told a pretty decent story here, and it was pretty fun with Ricochet being frustrated with Dalton Castle's antics, let's say. And Ricochet attacked one of the boys by super kicking him. But Ricochet ended up winning the match with his running clothesline or whatever. Solid enough match. And the ninth match on the show, Survival of the Fittest. The Sammy Guevara versus Beast Mortos versus Hechicero versus Blake Christian versus Commander versus Bandito. This match was elimination style, and Bandito won the match to remain being the Ring of Honor World Champion. Now, I did watch this, even though Sammy Guevara is in it and Blake Christian is in it. I still watched this match because the story, I think, was in the match. It wasn't coming into the match. The only thing in terms of story was that Hechicero and Guevara and Mortos are allies, and they were working together, essentially. And they whittled everybody down to essentially, I believe it was Hechicero and Mortos versus Bandito. I didn't write that down, so maybe it was Guevara and Mortos, but it was certainly Hechicero was one of the last couple of guys, and they pretty much beat up Bandito. They beat the hell out of him. They did an injury tease similar to the one Dominic Mysterio pulled off at Survivor Series, except they did the babyface version with Bandito fighting from underneath and overcoming the odds in order to win. It was a great victory for Bandito. I would have liked for it to be a singles match. I'm always in favor of that. But I get it. The Survival of the Fittest match is kind of a favorite among Ring of Honor fans. So I get it. But just looking at this crowd of people, Hechicero, get real. Right, Sammy Guevara, Blake Christian, stop it, but it was fine. I actually didn't hate this. The main event of the show was Athena versus Persephone, which I actually watched. I had heard a lot about Persephone, and I know that Persephone is kind of like the ride or die for CMLL, and she's been the woman that's kind of been taunting WWE. She's American, apparently, but she speaks Spanish fluently. And she's been like, people have been talking a whole lot about her. So I wanted to see what was going on here. And then they put them on in the main event spot. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, Athena's not a main eventer of a, pay-per-view main event talent. And then this match doesn't have like a whole lot of heat to it where it deserves to be in the main event spot. They just did it because they can, bro. They just did it because they can. But ultimately, it was a very solid match. Persephone, she throws decent punches. And she worked very hard here. Good, decent mixture of strength and agility. She wasn't bad, man. She was pretty good. And Athena was Athena. She's always extremely bland, but competent in the ring, which is why she's perfect for Ring of Honor. I know people want her to go on and do other things. That would be because of how old she is. But, she did a good job here. She won with the Eclipse, or what they call in the O-Face. So she won with her big top rope stunner move. But Persephone really showed out here, and she did a good job. So I couldn't hate this. So as far as what I watched on the show, I enjoyed what I watched. It was way too much in terms of wrestling. I don't think a show needs to have 10 goddamn matches on it. Like, I don't think the show needed 10 matches. But I watched the final 3 matches. I watched Red Velvet and Mercedes. So that's more than I probably have watched of I don't know, maybe more, certainly more than I watched of TNA, which is a surprise. But I've certainly watched more Ring of Honor than TNA, so I enjoyed this show more and was more interested in this show than I was of TNA's show. And it's a nice mixture of talent. But if I may put on my beret for a second, if I may raise my fist for a second, this is the blackest fucking wrestling show that I've seen in a long time. Let's go through this show real quick. I'm talking about just the Ring of Honor show. There's like all of AEW's black roster is on this show. Layla Gray is on this show. Lee Johnson was on the show. Lee Moriarty, Red Velvet, Mercedes Moné, Shane Taylor Promotions, that's 3 people. Plus the managers were 2 more. Top Flight are black. Scorpio Sky is black. Ricochet is black. You know, like Athena was in the main event. She's black. I mean, Jesus Christ. This is a very black heavy product. Yes, some of them are mulattoes, but that's okay. This is a very black heavy product. This goes to show that there is a lot of black talent in AEW that does not get featured on Dynamite and Collision. Like, some of these people are, to be fair, shouldn't be on Dynamite or Collision, but there are a lot of black talent here in Ring of Honor, and they were featured on this show. And I was quite appreciative of that, even if I skipped the match. I kind of appreciated that they found time to stuff Shane Taylor Promotions on the pay-per-view, I guess. But I was like, okay, this is nice, because usually NXT tries very hard to have black guys on the show. But it's iffy here and there. But I didn't know they had this many black talent on Ring of Honor. So that doesn't make... I'm not going to watch the show all of a sudden. But I want to tip my beret to Ring of Honor and Tony Khan and all of them for having a very diverse show. You know, a whole lot of Mexicans and Hispanics, and you know, it was a nice mix of talent. A lot of mix of old and young, people who've been around for a while and people who are fairly new, but most of the talent were experienced. Very few rookies floating around. So a nice mix of talent, you know, and nice mix of racial diversity and all that. But way too many matches. Show way too long. And the booking is boring as hell. Like, you can look at the card and tell that they didn't put a lot of effort into who was wrestling who, or the why anybody was wrestling anybody else. So, in closing, Mercedes was very frustrated about losing, and she cussed out Layla Gray. So they're going to have a match on Collision. They try to get me to watch Collision to watch Layla Gray. I will not. Look, I love Layla Gray, but I hate Collision. And and when I'm told, hey, you want to watch Layla Gray, I say, yes, sir. They say, you got to watch Collision. I say, no, sir. She's from Ohio. No, thank you. No, thank you. No. And plus, it's going to be way too much forehead in that match. I don't know if I can handle that much exposed forehead between her and Mercedes. And I'm not sure if anybody is ready. It's the reverse version of the Cake Wars of La Hydra and Lola Vice, when they had so much ass and thigh in one match. It was like having a bucket of KFC. It was nothing but ass and drumsticks. You know, this is the reverse. Now it's like having 2 like Yakubs in there. You know, 2 big head broads, man, like with these gigantic foreheads and stuff. But they're both very cute women. You know, I love me some Layla Gray, but she's from Ohio, and I'm not watching Collision. So, but I actually did watch a lot of Final Battle, and so for that I was impressed. Am I going to start watching Ring of Honor regularly? No. I'm going to watch the pay-per-views and skim through them just like I usually do. But if you enjoyed the show, let me know in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Be blessed.
Yeah. We're just gonna